Buongiorno a tutti, sono Caterina Arcidiacono del Comitato Protocollo Napoli che ha promosso una campagna contro l'uso dell'alienazione parentale nei tribunali italiani e abbiamo fino ad oggi una raccolta di 300 firme tra operatori e operatrici del campo e associazioni. In questo momento parlo dall'Università di Napoli e stiamo per collegarci con Reem Alsalem, rapporteur delle Nazioni Unite della violenza contro le donne. Reem si trova a Milano a conclusione dell'evento sulla prostituzione come forma di violenza organizzato dal CADMI di Milano e da Resistenza Femminista. Io farò alcune domande a Reem Alsalem, approfittando della sua presenza in Italia, dal momento che le Nazioni Unite hanno indirizzato forti raccomandazioni ai governi sul tema del contrasto all'alienazione parentale. Dottoressa Alsalem, good morning. I am Caterina Arcidiacono, calling from Naples, e promotrice della campagna anti-alienazione parentale in Italia, e per noi è un grande onore averla con noi a rafforzare la nostra lotta nazionale contro l'alienazione parentale. E vorremmo porle alcune domande.
First of all, let me just say thank you very much for this conversation and also for the work you do on parental alienation.
Quindi grazie innanzitutto per il lavoro che fate sull'alienazione parentale e per questo invito.
Allora, le Nazioni Unite, grazie a lei, rapporteur speciale sulla violenza contro le donne e le bambine, hanno fatto una forte raccomandazione ai governi per vietare l'uso dell'alienazione parentale nei tribunali. E per lei quali sono i collegamenti tra violenza sulle donne e alienazione parentale?
So first of all, let me say that the recommendation that I made in my report in June 2023 to the UN Human Rights Council about the importance of dismissing or disregarding parental alienation as a concept in family courts is based on my study and examination of international human rights law. It is a recommendation, by the way, that not only I, as the Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, have made, but also other international and regional organizations that deal with discrimination and violence against women. So the CEDAW Committee, Grevio, that oversees the implementation of the Istanbul Convention, for example, MESECVI, which also oversees the implementation of the Belém do Pará Convention on Violence Against Women for the Latin American region. And in short, it's because, first of all, parental alienation as a concept is a pseudo concept. It is not in the classification of diseases of the World Health Organization. It doesn't exist as a scientifically based disease. And it is often still used, despite it not being a real concept, it is still very much used and weaponized in family courts, principally against mothers, principally by their partners or ex-partners, which are predominantly fathers. And it is used in order to mask the responsibility of the perpetrators for acts of violence that they have committed, either against the mother or against the child or against both. And why do I say that it's used to instrumentalize? Because unfortunately, the moment the father raises the allegation that a mother is alienating the child, this becomes, in a family court, the most important issue. Then the courts and the judges become so fixated on this accusation, and then it overshadows any other problematic, violent behavior that the perpetrator might be involved in. So it's used as a tactic to deviate attention from acts of violence against the mother or the child, and puts the mother then in the position of being accused of alienating the children. And in most cases, once this accusation is made, courts and judges will side with the father, will accept that parental alienation has happened. And this is very problematic, because it leads then to, first of all, the history of violence being ignored in a court. Second, it leads to often to mothers losing custody to their children. And third, it can often lead to children being sent back to their abusers, because also the courts take an approach, unfortunately, in many countries, that contact between the father and the child is the most important consideration. And I have seen decisions where judges, even if they accept that maybe the father has done something wrong, they will still prefer to order contact visitation rights than protect the child against harm. And that is why I have emphasized that it is important for judges to look at the facts of each case, and therefore also to pay attention to the history of domestic violence or any allegations of domestic violence or sexual violence brought forward by the mother or the child, and make sure that this is then addressed by the judges in these decisions. So they have to look at everything on a case-by-case basis.
Andando avanti, non solo avete vietato l'uso della PAS, ma avete anche dato dei principi di contrasto a trattamenti forzosi di riunificazione, uso della PAS, e sul divieto a trattamenti forzosi di riunificazione per i bambini come parte di un procedimento legale. Ci sono dei motivi specifici sull'evitare il ricongiungimento forzato, e sono motivi rischiosi per la salute, sono inefficaci, sono inutilmente punitivi? Qual è la ratio principale che muove questo principio?
Yeah. So as you rightly mentioned, in my report, I have recommended the prohibition of the use of reunification camps for children as part of any outcome or decisions of custody cases or family court cases. First of all, we have to understand that there's a business behind invoking allegations of parental alienations, which means also that there are people and institutions and academics who position themselves as experts and are brought into courts in order to determine if parental alienation has happened. Now, because of course they get paid for this, and many make money out of this, they will often, if not always, find that parental alienation has happened. Even though, as we just said, it's not a real disease, it's a pseudoscience. So therefore, as part of then the outcome, many of them will send the children to what we call reunification camps in order to, with the objective of reestablishing the contact between the child and the so-called alienated parent, which is often the father. In addition to the conflict of interest I just described, it is very clear that the approach of sending kids to reunification camps is, first of all, intrusive, it's inappropriate, it re-traumatizes the child, and also it is biased, it's judgmental, and it is completely dismissive of possibilities that the child may have been abused. It goes against the welfare of the child. It goes against the best interest of the child, also because often the child's custody is transferred to the abusive parent. And the child is subjected to pressure. It is being subjected to pressure to basically become closer to someone they see as abusive, either to them or their mother. And also it weakens or tries to cut the link between the child and the mother. So for all these reasons, since reunification camps go against the rights of the child, I have very clearly called for the prohibition of its use. And there is information available, actually, and increasingly there are studies that demonstrate the harmful impact of reunification camps.
Ma purtroppo, perlomeno in Italia, non so nel resto del mondo, esiste una fioritura di scuole di formazione sull'alienazione parentale, di esperti che poi si presentano in tribunale. E c'è qualche buona pratica di qualche paese per contrastare questo fenomeno che in Italia al momento è abbastanza, diciamo, presente?
So first, I want to say, emphasize that the weaponization or instrumentalization of parental allegation accusations is a business. And as part of this business, as you said, trainings on how to identify and recognize parental alienation flourish, to judges, to unfortunately child protection ministries, in order to encourage them to adopt this concept. And I said that this is very problematic. Now, what I think needs to happen, as I said in my report, is that states have to have a publicly funded system of experts that provide information to courts and not rely on these self-declared and private entities and so-called experts that claim to know what parental alienation is. So states have to provide the experts. And experts provided by the state, as well as justices and child protection officers, ministries working on violence against women, they all have to be trained about how domestic violence and sexual violence in the family works, so that they are able to recognize the manifestations of this violence in a child custody or a divorce proceeding. Also, we have to be able to have complaint mechanisms that can be used or triggered against experts brought by the courts to determine parental alienation, because many of them will abuse their authority. So that's that. And you asked me about good practice. I would say it's really important, and it's high time that parliaments and governments initiate inquiries into the use of parental alienation in family courts, try to collect data, and also bring in affected women and children and parents, so that they can testify and share the horrible negative experience of using parental alienation allegations in courts. I want to mention the example in the UK. So the UK, initiated an inquiry into this by the Domestic Violence Commissioner. So the Domestic Violence Commissioner produced a sort of a report on this issue, and based on that has also made recommendations to the justice system and other ministries of then how to counter this situation. So I think there are good examples out there, but more needs to be done. I don't think enough is being done. And we have to understand that one way to silence the critique of parental alienation industry is that anyone who questions the use of parental alienation, be they victim, be they academics, be they women organizations, gets attacked, gets delegitimized, cancelled, because they want to, they don't want a transparent inquiry to happen. So the state needs to allow for real inquiries to happen, and for the parliament then to take action.
In Italia il comitato promotore Protocollo Napoli ha attivato una campagna nazionale di raccolta firme e di sensibilizzazione sul tema degli effetti della PAS a livello del minore, della famiglia, delle procedure dei tribunali, creando una sensibilizzazione, e fa parte di questo lavoro l'onore di averla come rappresentante delle Nazioni Unite. Ma insomma, vorremmo poter contare ulteriormente sulla sua presenza e avere anche una valutazione di quello che questa campagna può avere per l'Italia, o dei suggerimenti per come poter andare ancora avanti.
First of all, I want to commend you and any actors that are prioritizing this issue and launching campaigns, because it is very important that the true impacts of the use of this pseudoscience is known. Many people in the wider public are not aware. They think that these are isolated cases, or very few cases. But that's why also I wanted to produce a report on the use of parental alienation in order to show, first of all, how systematically it's applied in many jurisdictions around the world, and how similar the tools by perpetrators of violence are used, but also how similar the negative consequences are on child and mother, and how it runs against human rights of the mother and the child, and also where governments and justice systems and child protection ministries and gender equality ministries are failing. So that is why then you helping in that is really important. I think it's important, as I said, to continue to speak to this, including to lawmakers and politicians, to justice systems. It's important to persevere because as we are talking more about it, and also since the issuance of the report, the pushback by those who profiteer from using parental alienation has also become bigger. They are trying to discredit this report. To this date, they keep saying that the Human Rights Council has rejected the report, which is not true. So there's a lot of effort being made to push back against our collective efforts to highlight this problem. I go back also to the importance of documenting, having data, speaking to survivors, to victims, whether it's mothers and children, and having politicians hear from them with their own voice. And I also think it's important that all of you connect also with other campaigns, other organizations working on the same goal as you, to share also lessons learned from advocacy efforts, because we are making progress, but it's very, very slow. But I have seen in the last few months, actually, that there have been some judges in a number of countries who have very assertively rejected the use of parental alienation and have actually dismissed these allegations. So there is progress, and that gives me hope, but we have to continue to work on this and not to be discouraged by the setbacks.
In Italia, Protocollo Napoli lavora con la rete delle università italiane contro la violenza sulle donne Unire, lavora con l'Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore di Milano, con l'Università di Trieste, con l'Università Federico II di Napoli, con una rete nazionale che intende portare tutto questo all'attenzione dei politici, e speriamo di averti con noi in questo percorso di ulteriore step.
Grazie, and I'll be very happy to collaborate with you and and to give strength to your efforts. So with pleasure. Yeah.
Finishing, thanks to Ilaria Baldini.
Yes, thank you.
For her
Chiedo scusa, ma mi stanno
thoughtful
facendo
and thoughtful
prendere
and engaged intervention in the aim of our goals, of our cause.
It's our common goal. I signed
Common goals.
it.
Thanks to Ilaria Baldini for our common
Sentri
goals.
dire,
Yes.
hanno firmato a loro volta, quindi insomma questo è veramente uno sforzo collettivo.
Yeah.
Grazie a Protocollo Napoli e a tutte le firmatarie e quelle che hanno dato inizio, insomma, hanno scritto il documento in primo luogo. Grazie.